Just think of it as a jaunty stroll in the woods. What could possibly go wrong? In the Forest of the Night. I know this is crazy late coming out. I warned you this was going to happen though, so don't complain to me. So this episode starts with a really intriguing premise, which is basically that a global forest, every landmass on the planet has grown this massive amount of trees. They're covering everything. It's happened out of nowhere. It has happened immediately. Nobody knows how. Nobody knows why. And that's just a great Doctor Who kind of setup right there. Although, if I'm being honest, this episode overall is probably the weakest of Series 8 so far. Now, having said that, it's still really good. I would not call it a bad episode, which just speaks to how strong this series has been overall so far. There's a lot of good stuff that goes on here. The stuff that happens with Clara, again, it's just really solid. Her dynamic with the Doctor especially, at this point, I really enjoy their relationship. I like the fact that she's not traveling with him constantly and rather he picks her up from time to time. I like that right now, especially, she kind of has a better sense of him than he even has of himself. And with the way that Capaldi is playing the Doctor, I actually really like that dynamic. Again, I keep going back to the same thing. I don't want her to stick around forever, but they're wrapping her up in a really great way. Assuming that she is leaving at the end of the series, which is my assumption. That's the vibe I'm getting. The Doctor himself, he's slightly off for me in this episode. Not in the overall performance, it's fine, but he's a little more, at least initially, dismissive of children than I think we've ever seen him. One of the things that was always kind of nice, especially with the Matt Smith version, was how he related better and easier to children than he did to adults. And I really liked that aspect. And I guess this just kind of hammers home the fact that this is not going to be the same. He's not going to have that thing that Matt Smith had going, which is fine. It happened to be one of my favorite aspects of that character. So it was kind of a little sad for me to really get it hammered home that that's not the case anymore. Now that said, he's not completely dismissive of children, but the way he kind of brushes them off in the early parts of this episode made me go a little bit, oh, all right, if you're gonna be grumpy, I guess you go all out. Danny Pink, more solid work as we've been seeing. There's a lot of really good character work, as there has been across the whole series. I think it's the story itself is probably the weakest thing. While the initial setup is intriguing, what's actually done with it is a little odd. Because, as I said, it is global. It's the entire planet covered in this forest, but we're only dealing with this little sort of section of London. We deal with sort of the microcosm of it, which I guess can work, but it puts things a little out of proportion because all we're dealing with is like this little group of kids on a school trip and the Doctor, yet we're trying to deal with these global implications as well. It's a little out of balance in that sense, and then it goes for a lot of very obvious things, like the fact that one of the kids gets lost and is in a red hooded overcoat thing, and yes, there are wolves, so hey, Little Red Riding, big bad wolf. It's a little too on the nose, and it does come back to some of the notions that the Doctor gives towards the end of the episode, so they're not completely out of place thematically, but it's just such the obvious way to go. I kind of wish they hadn't. And then the actual resolution and the way it pans out, I kind of like the explanation for what it is that happens, but the way that it actually pans out, I don't know what it was about it. It just came off to me as a bit cheesy. A little bit too cut and dry. No problem. Actually, Kill the Moon had the same issue with the resolution. So this isn't the first time this series that an episode has sort of not quite stuck the landing a little bit. I do think Kill the Moon was slightly more successful overall as an episode than this one is, but they're kind of a double act in terms of themes and the way the story plays out, with similar strengths, similar weaknesses. We've got part one of our two-part finale airing tonight, which means we're finally going to get a better sense of whoever the heck Missy is. We may not find out exactly, but we're definitely going to spend more time with her. Do you have a theory as to who she is? Do you think she is some version of someone we've seen before, or do you think she's an altogether new character? Whatever it is that you think, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Until next time, this council is adjourned.